Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Early Apex. I'm Rob here with Dylan, and I'm coming to you guys from my new home of Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida. I am now a Florida man.
Let's go!
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be out there wrestling alligators in no time. You know, already saw a couple opossums, so
Yeah, you gotta figure out and find out and do the research if that whole meme's a real thing. Florida man.
oh, it's real. It's real. I've already seen them.
You've already seen it. You've already witnessed.
I already am one. So
That's awesome. So yeah, you have made a move. That's obviously part of why it's been a minute for us with the delay on some of the episodes. But you are now in Daytona, Florida. So what brought you down there, Rob?
that's a leading question, Dylan.
It's a set.
I got a new job. I was previously at Fab Speed Motorsport, praise, and I just took a position working for IMSA, so International Motorsports Association. Man, I hope I got that acronym right.
It's been a long day for you. I'm not going to hold it against you. If you don't.
IMSA is an endurance racing sanctioning body. Well, we sanction more than just endurance racing, but our number one build championship is the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, which is endurance racing, of course, and that is the part of the Rolex 24. The Rolex 24 is part of that championship, so that's our number one event. But yeah, it's been awesome. IMSA also close to our hearts does MX5 Cup, it's complicated. Are we the sanctioning body or are we? There's a lot. There's
a lot of
racing
jargon.
is complicated. Racing is complicated. But basically, you know, we're the people who run race control for MX5 Cup. Okay. But we're not the people who run the logistics for MX5 Cup. But we also do a bunch of other series. We do the Super Trofeo series, Porsche Carrera Cup series, the North American one. There's a new one which is, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's basically the Mustang Dark Horse R series. So it's all race prepped Mustangs, which is a brand new series. I don't think there's been a spec Mustang series in a long time. So that's really cool.
Epic.
That's going to start at Mid-Ohio this year. What else do we have? We have the VP series, which is two different classes of racing. And we have the Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge as well. Oh, and then there's also the Ferrari Challenge, but you know, Ferrari is special. So
that's a lot. I didn't even realize.
It's a lot.
mean, you and I have talked a lot, obviously off recordings and whatnot. I didn't realize it was that many. That's impressive. And that Mustang series sounds epic.
Yeah, it's super cool. I mean, it's just cool to see like more manufacturers really leaning into racing and supporting it. And it's by no means affordable for any normal human being, but it is cheaper than a lot of other series. Almost as cheap as MX5 Cup, which is probably the cheapest manufacturer run new race car series. I think it's definitely like the cheapest you can get into from any major manufacturer, and so Mustang is going to come in a close second there. So that's just cool. Just more accessible racing. Going to be super tight racing, obviously, and should make for some really good, some really great races. So I'm excited to see that develop.
Nice. And you're going to be doing marketing for them, right? Or you are doing marketing for them.
Well, to an extent, and that's where the complexities come in that I won't begin to embarrass myself on here, but essentially there's like the WeatherTech series IMSA runs entirely, right? So we have our key sponsors, WeatherTech and Michelin. Motul, but we're the ones running all the logistics. We're the ones, setting everything up, and we're the ones also running race control and all that stuff. So it's, top to bottom, we run that. However, for like the Mustang or the MX-5 Cup, I think this is the right terminology. We are the sanctioning body, which just means we're the ones who run the race control and provide those services, but we're not the ones doing logistics, the marketing
or
right?
promoting or anything
or
like that.
promoting. Really, we're not really doing any of that. So we might end up doing like a little bit of promotion, and it's in the modern land of digital marketing, it's pretty fluid, but it's not something we're going to be like focused on. And then it's also complicated too, because it's like, yeah, we don't do logistics, but MX-5 Cup is in a lot of our, a lot of the times when we're at a track to do weather tech, we're also doing the VP series, and we're also doing the Michelin Pilot Sport Challenge, and we're also doing MX-5 Cup. And so we still have to figure out the logistics to help MX-5 Cup exist there and schedule them in with everything else. So
Do these 4 series in one weekend. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the race weekends are all 4 series in a weekend. So it's pretty crazy. It's you can go to a race weekend that's 3 days and see like 6 races and like 10 different classes of cars and like 30 different cars. That's
pretty cool.
Yeah. Because I mean, WeatherTech is, 3 classes of cars, and then, VP with the TCR cars and the GT4 cars. There's, 2 more classes, and then, so.
That's cool. I'm excited for Watkins Glen when you're coming to town. So already got that marked in the calendar, and just a matter of figuring out how many races I'm able to sneak away from during the week and come see, and then obviously go out on the weekend as well. So
yeah, that's going to be an awesome weekend. 6 hours at the Glen.
Yeah. So leading into the main topic, you started and were thrown right into what you were telling me was the biggest event of the year for IMSA, which is what you were saying, the Rolex 24. So what is that? I know I've definitely heard of it before you got the job and were moving down there. But yeah, give us a little bit of a background on IMSA's title event.
Yeah, so Rolex is our Super Bowl. For an overused hyperbole say, yeah, it's massive. It's at Daytona, right? Obviously, okay. Daytona Speedway here in Daytona Beach,
which is where your home base is.
Yeah,
obviously
that's
where
the
you're living, but
is.
that's where IMSA is based out of. Yeah.
Yep. You can see the track across the street, and it's huge. It's 2 weekends. We split it into 2 weekends. You have the Roar before the Rolex the weekend before, and that's when we do qualifying for WeatherTech, and there's also a couple of races, a VP race and a Michelin Pilot Sport Cup race. So those happen that weekend. And then 2 days off, and then Wednesday we're back at the track prepping for Rolex, and they start having practices, doing car-to-car photo sessions on the track. They're filling up Roar weekend, they fill up the paddock and the garages with an insane amount of trucks and like the setups like we're used to seeing. So that's one distinction, right, between American racing and European. You're used to seeing an F1 where their garages are also the pit, right? So it's all in one. But all American tracks aren't like that. There's always a pit wall, and the garages are back like behind the pit wall. You have to drive to them basically. And so the pit is they just have like their station right behind the pit where they've got like each team's like their little race control setup. And this year the setups were like F1 level. Like you've got, the split levels where there's like guys sitting down here in front of 5 screens, and then there's guys like sitting right on top of them, like with another 5 screens, and like double. Everyone's got 2 levels, like to get even more space, and they're just like wall to wall, like tents of all their setups. So that was it was awesome to see how much like technology and money is put into it. I mean, you could have tricked any layman into thinking this was like an F1 level event, you know. I mean, in a lot of ways it is.
Yeah. With it being, you know, going back to your hyperbole, the Super Bowl of your series, is it the longest? Like, is it the only 24-hour race that IMSA puts on? Or, like, what makes it, like, the crowning event of IMSA?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the only 24-hour race on our calendar. So, and not all of our racing's endurance, actually. I think endurance is classified, like, over 2 hours. We classify as endurance. So, but yeah, it's the only 24-hour race. The next longest being, only 24 hour, because PT Le Mans is, I think, 12 hour. And then also Sebring coming up. That's our next race would be 12 hour. So there's that. There's also just sort of like the provenance of it. Like it has the highest brand recognition. It's like a household name. Of course, Rolex being closely associated with it. There's a lot of drivers who come just to race Rolex. A lot of big names, you know, like, you know, Jenson Button, you know, ex F1 driver, Philippe Massa, you know, a lot of big names, you know, IndyCar or Indy 500 winners, IndyCar drivers, F1 drivers. Just some of the best drivers from around the world come just to do Rolex. Which is really cool to see.
That is cool.
Even actually, Gunther, the Haas, you know, Haas team boss.
The team principal.
I think he comes every year and just sort of like
actually
hangs
now
out. Well, not anymore, right?
Yeah, now ex-team principal.
I mean, and I don't know how they're going to keep the F1, the Drive to Survive going without Gunther, you know?
I mean, especially Haas. They were already irrelevant, and now without him...
Yeah, at least they were irrelevant with character.
with character, exactly.
Now it's like they're, you know, you're going to be boring and lose, so what's the point?
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, with the event, I think you're able to talk about this. So I'm putting you a little on the spot here. But I remember we talked, there was a specific scenario happening in the pit with something that was taking place but wasn't really part of the race, but was there to be capturing stuff. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I can talk about it on a surface level. Of course, everyone knows that Lewis Hamilton is producing an F1 movie starring Brad Pitt. And a few other, well, really no other names like Brad Pitt, but you know, it's.
I mean, how many other names
it's a big expensive
are like
movie. It's
Brad
like
Pitt?
$200+ million production, produced by Apple Films. So they were in the pits with us, and what is insane is that they basically asked an already running race team, a team that was already running a car at the Rolex, and said, "Hey guys, would you run a whole second team for us? And we're gonna call it Chip Hart Racing." And so they had 5 Chip Hart racing cars there in all their own livery, GT3s, 911 GT3s.
Okay.
And they were going to run it in the GTD class. And so they had 5, which is crazy. Most teams, if they're doing well, have maybe one backup car, maybe. But they had, 4 backup cars. I think maybe they had 1 backup car and like 3 others that were camera cars, but they still were all GT3s, but they were set up just to shoot with. And so it was nuts. So they ran the Rolex 24.
That's so crazy.
They ran the Rolex 24.
A live film crew was racing the Rolex 24.
Yeah. So, it's like, and they hired great world-class, professional drivers and ran the team. And then they had like 2 mirrored garages right next to each other, one for the actual racing and the other just to use to shoot.
Film. My gosh. So they were filming that day too, like in the pits and.
So yeah, they film little segments like sometimes shooting like real stuff. Like they would shoot some real pit stops happening, but then they would also like while everything was happening would like restage something. They'd be like, oh, we want to do that. Let's just restage that again. And so that was pretty wild. And of course everything's like super tight lips. So it's sort of like only the people who needed to know knew, and it would just like happen really quick and, and it'd be over before in a blink of an eye. And then also what was really cool is they were out there shooting like every night. So like, Thursday night after practice ends at 8 p.m. and then they would go on the track and shoot until like 2, 3, 4 a.m.
Whoa.
And they had like this old like 2000s Lola race car. Looks like a LMP2 car. So you got this old Lola race car with this huge camera set up on the back so that they could have a car that would be able to go as fast as these GT3 cars and keep up with them so they could like shoot at speed.
Whoa.
So that was cool. So I just stayed after one day and just got to see them go around. It's also just cool to hear the Lola because it has like a unique sound that you don't get to hear anymore. So it's cool just to hear that thing, but it was also like, it was awesome to see them shooting. And they all types of stuff. I mean, had a helicopter involved shooting, and yeah, it's it's going to be an awesome movie when it comes out. I mean, at the least, the action sequences are going to be incredible because I mean, they were out there driving the cars hard and shooting them.
They were really racing. Like, yes, obviously it's Hollywood. They had a secondary pit and they were setting stuff up. They were probably doing
right, but no,
like,
I'm sure there's going to be shots of that car on the track during the real race. All the other real competitors out there, which is, pretty incredible.
It's really cool.
Also,
that's really cool.
Insane that they did all that for. I mean, maybe, hopefully we're in the movie for half the movie. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if this makes up maybe 20 minutes of the movie.
Watch, it's just like the opening credits. It's just
I mean, the money they spent to be here is amazing.
It's a minute and a half of the, hour, 45-minute film. No, I'm willing to bet that it's going to be more than that. But no, that's just crazy experience on top of what is already the largest IMSA event of the year. You've got this film going on, and Brad Pitt was somewhere around.
Biggest it's ever been, too. Like, it was the most amount of fans we've ever had there, the biggest attendance, the most amount of cars and teams, and even, like, the manufacturers come out. So, like, in the midway is sort of where basically in the middle of the bowl there is like where everyone gets to walk around and hang out. And so the manufacturers came and brought like a full like car show setup. Like it was better than the Philly Auto Show. Like the Philly Auto Show is dead. They don't bring any cool stuff there. Hyundai brought the new Ioniq 5N. It's like a pre-production model too. I got them to like let me look inside, and they're like, you can't take any photos. Ford brought the Mustang GTD, which they've only shown publicly a few times, so that was there. Of course, they had like new Dark Horse there too. Who else? Cadillac is there with all their V products. I got my shirt, my Hyundai shirt.
Ooh, nice. Represent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm totally missing. BMW was there, of course, with all their fancy new stuff, new M2, new M3, M4. So, yeah, it's really cool to see how heavily everyone's invested in it, and then also just like the fans. Like it's a culture.
That's cool. Well, hey, I'm excited to hear more about it. I'm sure more of our topics are going to end up getting swayed in your new world, and I'm excited to learn more about it. So
me too, because I don't know jack shit yet. Honestly,
you're still getting your feet wet.
Every day I'm like, what? Wait, what are you talking about? This
is currently being filmed early February, and you haven't even been there a month yet, right?
I think I've I've just made it a month. I'm like
Just made
a
a
month
month.
and 3 days or something.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you're still fresh off the boat. It's all good. You're just
Yeah.
getting your feet wet.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I guess I mean it was just to gush about it some more, right? So it being, 24 hours, like they're still going at like 3, 4, 5 a.m., which is just sort of surreal. So I tried to I like slept half an hour maybe. So I was up 3, 4 a.m. and one of the guys on our shooting crew comes in and he's doing the night shift and he's like, oh yeah, I'm about to go on shoot. I was like, all right, let's go out, and I'm just going to go out and screw around and just like, get some stuff for social media. So you go out on the cart and he takes me to like all the spots, where they shoot. And we go down to the bus stop, which is like the far side of the track from the grandstands. So over there, it's like really quiet because you're on the other side of the lake, and where the bus stop is, it's just an area of ground where like no fans are allowed to be. So at 3, 4 a.m., it's just quiet. Like when before the cars get there, and there's no cars going by, it's just like you can almost hear crickets, right? And then, all the cars going yellow, they're all bunched up, and you go to green, it's totally silent. And then all of a sudden, just 60 cars just come roaring down the straight, 180 miles an hour. The GTPs are coming in at 180 miles an hour, then hard on the brakes. And as you like watch them go by, like braking into the bus stop, like all the rotors just turning orange, one after another. It's just like, just down through the gears. There's nothing like it. That was probably like the most powerful experience, of just being out there by myself, and the car's right there. It was that was special. So it's a very cool experience. It's a very cool experience racing for 24 hours.
That's cool. Well, I'm excited to live vicariously through you. So.
Sorry, no, I know I'm making you jealous.
No, you're cool. You're fine. You're fine.
All right.
I'm okay with not moving down to Daytona, but hey, this is phenomenal. I'm such an opportunity for you, and yeah, like giving me goosebumps over here. I got to get to the track.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Awesome. That's awesome. So on today's, well, I should really say replacing today's FMK, we're not going to choose between 3 different cars to F, marry, and kill. It's not that Rob and I didn't do our homework. It's that we had a different idea today, okay? So bear with us. We're doing something a little different.
We're innovating, guys. We're innovating.
We are jumping on the bandwagon that is AI and ChatGPT, and we want to ask ChatGPT, what is the greatest sports car of all time? But before we ask...
We're going to ask... Oh,
yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, we're going to ask the greatest mind of all time what the greatest sports car of all time is. And I already know the answer.
Yeah, so what do you think? What is the answer, Rob? What is the answer?
I'll tell you what is the answer, and what ChatGPT will say. It's the Porsche 911.
Yeah, yep. I think that's probably everyone's first go-to. Yeah.
I think that's the obvious answer. Although I could see some wild cards coming out. Maybe there's a Mazda Miata in there, or sports car. Maybe it just says Ferrari.
Yeah, it might just say a brand,
or it might just say like "F you," like I don't have opinions.
I don't comply with that question. Please make me write a data script for you.
Yeah, he
Would
just
you
like
me to build a website?
Us,
Yeah. So what you're thinking? Just that simple? Like, what is the greatest sports car of all time? I think that's nice.
That's what I'm going. What is?
Let's do it.
The greatest.
So before you hit enter, though, you can type that in. Before you hit enter, so you're wagering that it's a 911. I think that's going to be the answer. I would be ready to give my free will over to the AI gods if it answered something like the Ferrari F40. All right, I'd feel very warm and cozy giving my total control over to
that
the
would
AI
mean-
overlords.
That would mean that the AI lords were irrational and swayed by
By
passion
emotion.
and emotion.
By emotion.
But maybe that'll be
Exactly.
what saves us in the end, because
Maybe it
isn't it
is.
that cold hard logic that is what always does in
I think you
humanity?
could argue. Yeah, I think you could argue if it were to answer something like the Ferrari F40 that ChatGPT might have a soul. Rob, it might have a soul.
that would be definitive proof. All right,
Let's hit the enter.
here we go. 3,
Yeah.
2, 1. Oh boy.
Oh, it's giving us a list.
Oh man! Oh wow! Oh, all right. So ChatGPT says determining the greatest sports car of all time is subjective and often depends on individual preferences as well as various factors such as performance, design, innovation, historical significance, and cultural impact. Very
Wow.
wise. Some
Wow.
iconic sports cars that are frequently mentioned in discussion of the greatest of all time include number 1,
Yep.
Porsche 911.
There it is.
You go. There you go. And I mean, okay, some of these might come close for you here. So Ferrari at number 2, Ferrari 250 GTO, which I
Yep.
guess that's coming from its historical significance, cultural impact, maybe
Yep.
not cultural impact, but significance for sure.
Widely regarded as one of the most beautiful design sports cars ever made. Yada yada yada. Yeah,
McLaren F1.
it's a good one.
That's a very obvious logical choice.
Yep.
And the Corvette, that was that's definitely in there. I mean, maybe the greatest selling sports car of all time. That's probably the Mustang, if you want to call a Mustang a sports car, not a muscle car. But then again, you could say the same about the Vet. But certainly one of the best selling of all time. And then at 5th is the Ford GT40.
There you go. There's that passion. That's actually I would honestly say that's probably the most surprising because it's calling out not just the Ford GT but the GT40. So it's calling out like the one from the 60s. That's interesting.
I'm telling it to pick just one.
All right. And what is it saying?
It would be a tough decision, but I would likely choose the Porsche 911.
There you go. There you go. Oh my gosh, made this AI thing's pretty predictable, more predictable than we thought.
That's just because we're, great minds. Dylan,
yes,
great minds.
absolutely.
Great minds.
Abs-
Okay. What
Could we
is
revert?
the
I was
worst
gonna say, let's reverse it
production car of all time?
of all time. Let's see. Does it do the same thing and it gives us a list? No.
All right, well, I think we're coming up first is the Yugo.
Okay.
The Yugo GV, manufactured by Yugoslav automaker Zastava Automobiles, gained notoriety in the United States in the 80s and 90s for its poor build quality.
Despite being marketed as an affordable economy option, the Yugo's reputation for unreliability and frequent breakdowns earns its place among the least desirable cars of all time.
All right, Yugo, definitely Yugo. I knew someone who had a Yugo. I mean, I didn't know them when they had it. I wasn't born, but they had a Yugo.
Oh, that's interesting. What are some other good questions?
All
here
right,
that
what do we
could
got
ask?
for ChatGPT?
You could ask, here's the question that we've debated, I think Mazda Miata is probably going to be the obvious answer, but what's the best track car? How would you ask that? How would you properly ask ChatGPT, like, what is the best entry level, like, track car?
Let's see what it's made of. All right, so let's get complicated here.
Okay. Okay, I see. If you're going to go to the track for the first time, what car would you pick to learn with? I like this.
It's so diplomatic.
It is so Look at this. Look at this little novel.
A popular choice for beginners is the Mazda MX-5 Miata. A lightweight chassis, responsive handling, and relatively low power output, making it approachable for novice drivers. And we've also got the BRZ Toyota 86, and even in parentheses Scion FRS. This thing knows everything.
Okay.
Regardless for the specific car chosen, it's essential for beginners to prioritize safety and follow proper track etiquette.
Oh my gosh, so diplomatic.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, can we get it to say something somewhat unpredictable or like trip it up somehow?
I think that's the whole point. Is it's just going to tell us the average, isn't it?
It sounds like it, but is there a question that we could ask it? Let me think here. That would try to send it like a little, in a different direction. What's something else?
Lo and behold, asking ChatGPT, totally predictable and
it was. Let's see.
No surprises here.
If you had to go, okay, asking a road trip. Okay. Yep. If you had to go on a road trip.
I spelled Nordschleife. That's
from southern Spain
to
Nordschleife. Which car would you choose? Okay, so road trip question.
Oh, I gotta add through the Alps. I don't even know if you have to go through the Alps for that, but
yeah, yep.
I think I almost spelled Nordschleife right. All right.
Okay, so what was it saying here?
Well, it says you want a car that offers a balance of comfort, performance, and handling. Very good. A nice Grand Tourer.
Okay, yeah.
Given the diverse terrain and driving conditions you'll encounter, a Grand Tourer or a high-performance sports car with long-distance capabilities would be ideal. And of course, all right, say it with me, everyone. Porsche 911. It's the obvious choice.
A lot of data out there saying that.
It would be.
Miata is not always the answer.
That is the choice.
Porsche 911 is always the answer, actually.
Another option could be the BMW M5 for a more luxurious ride.
Man, just the law of averages.
I wanna ask it, would you rather have a Lotus Mira Launch Edition V6?
Okay, now we're
or
in the weeds.
What do we think? Oh, or a Porsche 718 GT4 manual, of course.
Manual. Let's see what it says here. Oh, this is interesting.
Oh my God. If you prioritize raw driving engagement, lightweight agility, and pure driving experience of a mid-engine sports car, the Lotus Emira Launch Edition V6 might be the perfect option. On the other hand, if you value track-focused performance, precision engineering, and the heritage of a renowned sports car brand, 718 GT4. I mean, honestly, there's so much editorial writing about cars online. Like,
it's just looking up that data. And
it's able to pull from the 50 different articles written online about both cars.
Yep.
I mean, it is amazing how it can compare and contrast between the two pretty accurately, because I feel like this is a great assessment of the two. The Emira it's not actually lighter, but it's certainly a rawer car than the Porsche. And the Porsche is, more reliable, precision engineering. Porsche.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. What's another hot topic of debate that we could potentially put in front of it? It's definitely not like outright choosing. It's more like giving a little dissertation about like, hey, if you want to go with this one, this is why. If you want to go with that one, that's why. So it's hard to get it to like commit to something like that, or like even ask it like a yes and no question.
Yeah, it's just going to be so like even keeled and diplomatic because it's just taking the average. It's taking the average of everyone.
You could probably do something in response to that, like pick one. You could ask it again to like pick one, kind of like you did for the best sports car of all time, and it picked the 911. But oh my gosh, what did you type in? It's giving us a ton of information here.
I asked it if Chevy made the right move changing the vet to be mid-engined.
Oh my gosh.
Whether it was the right, in parentheses, the right move depends on various factors, including goals Chevrolet aimed to achieve with the change. Oh, that's really generic. And the reception of Corvette enthusiasts in the automotive community at large. Says performance is a benefit. Modernization. You could say that. They were able to go to, I wonder. Yeah, they went with this new DCT transmission, but there's no reason they could have done that in the front engine. Innovation. Demonstrating willingness to innovate and push boundaries, showcasing its engineering prowess and willingness to challenge traditional design conventions. I mean, yeah.
Is there maybe something super specific about Miatas that you and I
that we know that it won't know?
That it might struggle with? Like, it couldn't be something what's the easiest way to make power in a Miata? Because that's going to come up with a turbo. It's going to say something about a turbo.
Yeah. No, we need minutia.
What's...
All right, what super minute year-over-year change did they make to the Miata?
Or, like, what's something that's like a flaw that needs to be corrected in a Miata with, like, the aftermarket? Like, what's a part that commonly goes?
The short-nosed crank problem, but I think that's
that's well documented.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah. Oh, what's something we could ask it?
Oh, man. Shoot. I mean, I'll tell you what, I know. What if we ask it when they switched from the real oil pressure gauge to the fake oil pressure gauge?
Ooh, that's a good one. So if you're not familiar with Miatas, as you're typing this in, the early Miatas, and I don't even know the exact year. I'm sure it sounds like you do, Rob, but the early Miatas had a real live oil pressure gauge, and there were complaints because it would move around quite a bit. So they changed.
This is because consumers are idiots. And so when they saw the oil pressure go up and down with RPMs, they were afraid that their engine was broken. Or at least that was maybe they weren't. And it's just a perception of, because of course, I think all manufacturers just moved all their gauges to be like dummy gauges as opposed to functioning. Because, I mean, that's how even the coolant gauges are that way now. It's like the dead zone's like from 170 Fahrenheit to 250. So it's like not even useful. All right.
Yeah.
Engage.
All right. So you asked when did the Miata change from its real oil pressure gauge to its fake oil pressure gauge? Okay, so we tripped it up. What is it saying? MX. Okay, so it's saying that it didn't change until the NC,
which is incorrect.
It was the NB. Was it 2002 that they changed it? When did they change it?
It was 94.
94.
Yeah, there was one.
It was way early on. Okay.
Yeah, there was like 1 year of the 1.8 that had the real oil pressure gauge. I think so. 94 was the last year. 95 was when they didn't have it anymore. I think that's the changeover.
Okay, here's
everything it's saying is great, except for the actual facts, which has sort of been my experience with ChatGPT, that it will say something. Unless you know the facts, it sounds perfectly right. Like, none of this sounds like nonsense. It's well written and makes total sense, except for the actual fact of when the switchover
when it happened. Yeah.
And it's saying it was between the NB and NC, so 2006, but that just wasn't when it was.
Okay.
Well,
So we did
it.
Trip it up.
We're smarter than ChatGPT. Thank God.
I was getting worried there.
No, I wouldn't even believe for a second I'm smarter than this thing. This thing would run circles around me.
Is there any other, maybe like another choose it question that we could face?
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear. my friend, okay, where we go, is tired of his noisy
rough, expensive, temperamental Miata. What car should he get to replace it to drive with his wife, but also on the racetrack?
On the racetrack. All right.
Budget is max $20K.
Let's see what it says. Okay, it's giving us a list. I just want you to say choose one.
Okay, that's all we're gonna do.
Let's make it choose the best one. Choose the Oh, it's giving us. Come on. Wait, is it?
No, it's just giving you all the reasons.
It shows. Okay, all right. Now respond something that won't blow up on track.
Okay.
And suffer from low oil pressure when making right-hand turns. So for those of you that can't see, it said the BRZ/Scion FRS, and we responded with something that won't blow up on track due to Subaru engine design. It's giving us the Miata now. So I'm replacing the Miata with the Miata.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but not a Miata.
Not a Miata. Okay.
Understood.
All right.
All right. You know what?
Interesting.
Actually, this is the answer, Dylan.
Probably not wrong.
An S2K. It's told us an S2K, which you can get a quite decent one for under $20K.
Yep. Yep. I don't have to spend $10,000 to try to get an engine that just doesn't want to rev out to like 9,000 RPM.
Right. It's just built in.
It's just going to do
Honda
that.
Reliability.
Yep.
Balanced chassis. Engine fully behind the front axle. It has provenance and street presence. Probably relatively quiet and comfortable since it's a Honda product that was designed, came out in 2002. So you've got some more modern engineering, different chassis than the Miata ever had.
I like this answer. I'm going to ask it one more question.
Okay.
And let's say not a convertible.
Oh.
Like, so yeah, I don't think this is
Here,
too
I got to give
far
it a
off.
little props because I don't want the...
Great job.
Yeah.
You don't want our ChatGPT overlords to be...
Yeah, I don't want our overlords. Like, when they come and rule the world, they have to remember that I was...
You want to make sure that you're appreciative.
However...
A convertible, yeah. What's something that I don't immediately need to buy a roll bar for? It just went back to the BRC.
Okay.
FRS Toyota GT86. Okay, so you know what? We already established it really likes the Toyota 86 and S2000.
Boom.
What? Oh, that's
Camaro.
interesting. It said the Camaro SS.
Camaro.
What? That's interesting.
Dylan, I must confess to you, I was looking at Camaros recently.
Okay, what years?
The new ones.
Okay.
I mean, not brand new, but basically the V6 1LE fascinates me.
Okay.
That Chevy put the full track pack on the V6, and I've driven like a base V6 Camaro before. One of the newer ones. It was like someone's rental, and it was honestly like pretty fun. Like good handling, like decent communication through the steering wheel, like easy to slide around. I think it's a good sounding V6. Like it feels like a good like motorsport motor. You know what I mean? Like it wants to rev. It sounds good. Feels healthy, and it doesn't sound like a freaking bucket full of angry bees when you rev it up like the BRZ does. So I was impressed.
I'll tell you this. I've driven the V8 of that, the 1LE. That was a V8, and I drove it back to back with a Mustang Shelby GT350, and I'm a Ford guy. I love the Mustang, and
Yeah.
that was like the cooler car to look at. It was the better sound. I mean, that's the flat plane crank. But I gotta say, living with it day to day, I would take the Camaro. It was just such an easy car to drive. It had
Really?
so much low down grunt. It was awesome.
Yeah, with the LS.
It was so good. It had its own good noise too. Here's a question that you could ask it: what year Camaro SS is it suggesting? I'm not sure like what you can get for $20K in the Camaro SS world these days.
Yeah, it's not going to be for Dylan's budget. You're going to look at a 10 to 15,
Okay.
6.2 liter V8, 400 to 426 horsepower, 5th generation Camaro SS.
That's funny that it's like literally going back to my budget, that it's like recalling that and giving us an answer.
Telling you.
That's
We're
funny.
not long for this world till AI takes over. You know, Elon Musk is afraid for a reason. It's, yeah. Well,
I'm looking at
I mean, Dylan, I think it's a viable option here.
I mean,
wonder-
it's not.
Is
I've
there
driven it.
a
It's
track-focused Camaro? Because, well, here's the other thing that fascinates me is that magazines, all the magazines say how the Camaro had the best handling and most communicative steering of all the pony cars, and it always say it beat out the Mustang. It was better handling than the Mustang. And that's always just like fascinating me. Like, really, the Camaro, the car that like they can't sell, and they do a facelift every single year, thinking that that's going to help them sell them. I mean, who knows what really is the issue? But yeah, it's kind of fascinating me. Also, it's like the LS. It's like it's quintessential. It's reliable. It's in everything. It's super
Simple.
modifiable.
Big power. And I'll also say this, my experiences with that car, I've driven a couple of other LSs, but you can't really describe a torque curve very well, like just by trying to explain it to somebody until you really experience it. But there is a big difference when you just have, I mean, I guess the closest thing that I've experienced to it would be the Tesla Model 3S, where you just have so much power just immediately. And obviously you have more with the Tesla than the Camaro, but before electric cars came along, it was like it was elevated in that regard, where you just had all this power, like in fourth or fifth gear,
2,000 RPM, and just
wow,
lay into it.
Yeah. And you're going.
Something to be said for that, for sure. And a great sound like that. I mean, it sound awesome. Yeah, I drove my buddy's C6 Corvette, and it had like, long tube headers, intake, a tune, blah, blah, blah. And it's just straight piped. Like it just had dumps right, behind the rear axle. And it was just like, felt like I was in like a stock car. It was just like aggressive and loud and sounded amazing, even though it was totally obnoxious. Yeah.
I'll also say that this answer is a shade away from what I think I've worked out personally. If I were to replace it, I think it would be, and we've talked about this before, it would be the C6 Corvette. And it wouldn't be a fancy version or anything, because I want the Targa. I want the top down, driving experience still, but it's going to be way more comfortable. And, we can take trips on it. You still got the LS, but it's still within that budget.
You think you can afford a Grand Sport?
Ooh. Well, does Grand Sport still have a Targa?
I think so. Because they don't change the body style, but it gets most of the other stuff that the Z06 got. Like, I think I got like the brake package and stuff like that from the Z06. Because it's always been like the lower motor, but with all the other stuff of the Z06. Could be interesting. Good point, ChatGPT. Let me get a little praise.
Just
Good point.
Good point. Oh, this is so funny. Oh my God.
I'll talk to ChatGPT all night. Be my new therapist. Could you imagine? Oh man, there's someone out
Oh
there
my gosh.
definitely working on an article about this for the New Yorker right now.
Oh yeah.
I spent
Oh,
6
yeah.
months with ChatGPT as my therapist, like,
Here's
and
the
now I
breakthroughs I
murdered my
had.
dog. You know.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's also a therapist out there just using ChatGPT for their answers.
100%. Oh, what's that like online therapy service that they like advertise for in every podcast? FYI, we're looking for sponsors.
Oh my God.
Oh my god, I forgot what it's called, but no, 100%. Like any chat therapist, just chat GPTing everything.
BetterHelp online. I think
Yeah,
is what you're thinking
BetterHelp.
of.
Just a simple code to just like take every chat and then just funnel it into ChatGPT and
It's just an API with ChatGPT.
yeah,
That's all it is.
yeah.
That's too funny. All right, I think we've had our fun with ChatGPT.
Had
It was
our
an
way with
interesting
her.
experience. It's not as I mean, it was not as revolutionary as it could have been. But I mean, hey, it's just that it's out there. 911 is the answer. It's not Miata.
Well, I like
911 is always the answer.
Camaro SS. I think is a compelling answer.
That was interesting. That is interesting. That is an interesting answer. It's interesting that it went there after it just all it wanted to do was do GT86, BRZ FRS, or the S2000. Once we got past that, it's interesting that it went to a Camaro. I would not have expected that. I'll say that. I would not have expected that.
I mean, it was very specific too, like with its other, like, because it also recommends a Mustang GT, but the S197 chassis specifically.
Yeah, that S197 is not. I mean, I think it's a cool platform. It was like the first of like the retro muscle car vibes being brought
Right,
back,
yeah.
but like it doesn't hit me as a great platform for the track.
I would not ever own one of those.
Doesn't have an IRS, like the classic tropes of a Mustang. I
The
would much
GT500
rather.
of that era is iconic, at least to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. But also, I've heard that it was just an absolute animal and a handful.
Yeah, as it
total
should
nightmare
be.
to
As
drive.
it should be. Hell yeah, brother.
Just another telephone pole to wrap around it, right? Nice.
All right. Wow. That's been maybe not interesting. Maybe just exactly
Maybe
what
this was
anyone would have expected.
Total dud. But hey, it was it was worth a shot, right? We didn't know until we did it.
Exactly. In the biggest news of the year, perhaps the decade, Mazda is bringing back Mazda Speed.
Oh ho ho! Oh, go on, Rob. You've got my attention. You've got my hot boy fantasies rolling
Now
here.
we're
What's
talking.
going
Now
on?
we're talking. I was like, that is a canned response. No, it's all right. So number one, it's not Mazda Speed anymore, right? So Mazda canned the Mazda Speed brand after the Mazda 3, and I think on all accounts, it's because Mazda has been going up market, for the last decade and trying to have a premium product, as can be seen in their cars, right? They all have very premium interiors, and that's just where they're trying to take the brand. And Mazda Speed is very boy racer, right? So we've been without a Mazda Speed model for a long time.
Yeah, very sad hot boy.
Right, and everyone's been crying, myself included. Where's our Mazda Speed Miata? And I think if you look at the market right now, if they released a limited edition Miata, even if it was 50 grand, you could put a pre-order out for 1,000 of them and they'd be sold in a day. The market is hot for this stuff. People are spending 50 grand on Type Rs right now, on Civics, so why not the Miata? Anyway.
Yeah, or Corolla GRs, yep.
Tokyo Auto Salon, like second biggest, I think second only the SEMA, So Mazda at the Tokyo Auto Salon has released their Mazda Spirit Racing brand. And so this is
what's replacing Mazda Speed.
Yeah, the successor to Mazda Speed, I would say. And so these cars are track focused. I think kind of in, where Mazda Speed was definitely more like a street tuner vibe. These are very much like baby GT3 vibes. Like it's very like serious track focused modifications for like a track ready car. And it comes from that DNA. Mazda has been competing in various Japanese racing series. So see if I can, there we go. So they've been racing the Super Taikyo Racing Series, Japanese endurance series for GT3, GT4, and TCR cars. So I would think maybe the Mazda 3 is in the TCR, the touring car series. So yeah, they've been taking their cars to the track from a factory racing effort and learning from it, and it looks like that's what they're directly applying to these cars. So there's the Miata with the treatment, and they did the treatment as well to the Mazda 3, and they look sweet.
I mean, they do have like the interior with the Alcantara. It is giving those baby GT3 vibes to a Miata and to the Mazda 3, so it definitely does track with like what you're saying, that more upscale brand, right? It's not like just going after what they were before. Like previously, it's definitely trying to be more of that elevated brand.
Yeah, and I think that's also in vogue right now, right? Like that's sort of what the Type R is.
About to say that. Yep, Type R is doing the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. They've got, notably, on the interior, a bucket seat, so a fixed back bucket seat that look awesome. And on these concepts, they've got 5-point harnesses as well, which obviously speaks directly to that like track focus. What else? So
here's the thing.
Yeah. What we got?
Are they solving the age-old problem of Miata, which is any more power, baby? Is there any more power, baby?
Okay.
The old Mazda Speed was turboed.
I knew you were gonna ask. I knew you were gonna ask. It looks like it. From what I've read, and of course, all this stuff is American publications that have been converting it from the Japanese, right? So
because all the press releases were released in Japanese.
Only Japanese press releases. I don't think they did a single English language one or anything for our market. But basically, we have got here. Oh no, I've lost it. But essentially, what they've said is that they have bumped up. They've done internal engine modifications, and it will have more power than the 181 horsepower that it currently has with the 2-liter. So internal engine mods and more power than 181. Yeah, I mean, sounds promising.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cars, making that 100 horsepower per liter. There's no reason to think the Miata couldn't also be cranked up to like 200-ish at the crank. Another 20 horsepower would be nice.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I say that, but in all seriousness, the ND1 that I drove, I felt like was surprisingly punchy. And what does the ND1? What did that have? Like 160 horsepower?
Yeah, about that.
And the ND2 has 181. So I'm sure the I want to really drive an ND2 because that to me sounds great. I'm not going to be probably lusting over power in that car, but I mean, hey, who doesn't want another 20 horsepower?
More
come
is
on.
More. And I mean, I think if they're sticking with the 2-liter, then it's probably going to come from revs. So maybe that means an 8,000 RPM factory engine.
Sounds a lot like what's in my garage that I've had to like work down to the bone to get. And if you're telling me that I could just go and buy an ND that has that experience with the 8,000 RPM
and OEM
and 200
reliability.
horsepower, sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Anybody want a fully built ITB 2-liter NA Miata?
Yeah. It looks pretty sweet. It's sitting on T37s. It's got a little aero package.
It's got its own like livery vibe, or at least like color palette.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a theme there because both the Mazda 3 and the Miata are in the same.
Yeah,
Looks
they're kind of like a light gloss gray with a little bit of a graphics package on there. It's cool.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
That I don't want to ask, but I have to, especially if I'm going to put my car up for sale. What do you think the cost is of this?
Ain't gonna be free, that's for sure.
No, what's an ND2 going for right now? What's the MSRP of an ND2?
I think a fully loaded ND2 convertible is like 34 or 33. And the RF goes up to like 38.
Yeah, okay, yep. 28 is the going rate of the entry level.
Okay.
And it looks like
28
the
is
R
still a lot.
It is.
That's
The
what
club
a BRZ is, right? A BRZ is about 28, and
yeah, the club, which is like the mid-level trim, is 31, and then it looks like the RFs. Dude, the RFs are expensive. I like the RF, but the problem is you can't put a roll bar and then use the top. So I'm kind of out on the RF these days. But that's like $38,900. So I mean, it's nearly $39,000 MSRP. That's just so high.
Not the car I would get for that price.
So do you think? So it's not going to be an RF, obviously. It's going to be the convertible, which
45.
I think is smart.
I think it'll be 45.
45.
A solid 10 grand over the top spec for the other convertible is my guess, especially 45. With engine modifications.
Now, do you think there's going to be dealer markup and like a limited run of these? Do you think it's going to be like pretty limited?
I think Mazda has been known to do limited runs, but they're also like introducing this as like a new brand for them. And like, I don't think Porsche limits GT3s. They limit the special edition versions of the GT3, but I think there's unlimited, sort of as many as they can make. So
yeah.
I don't think it'll be limited. It's not like the 30AE where it's like a special edition.
Yeah.
I sure hope not.
Do you think
everyone's kind of sick of limited editions?
Do you think it'll sell at that? Because let's just say they aren't planning on making it a limited run, but you could still see prices increase if they don't sell a lot, and then demand's low, but also that means that they don't make that many, and then that'll jack up the prices themselves.
I think in a year when we'll realistically see them, and that's also, there's no U.S. press release. It looks like a car they would sell in the U.S., but
it might not even come here, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's possible. I really think it will, because also like the American market is now the final market for these cars, or will be
for Miatas.
Look at the BRZ. Apparently, the BRZ, they did a limited sale for them in England, and they sold out in like 30 minutes. And apparently there's going to be no BRZ for 2025. Like 24 is the last model year for the BRZ over there. So like we're the final market. So I would think it would have to come here for it to make sense for them to do this R&D. They've got to
develop everything, and then why wouldn't you sell it here? The Miata was originally designed in California.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously it's a Japanese product, but like there is a lot of U.S. influence, and they've obviously sold a ton here. So
no, it was a car made for the U.S. market. I have the original photo book for the release of the Miata. It's a sweet hardback coffee table book, And one book is like this whole concept, like it goes through the whole concept and designing process, and then the other book is just this photo book, like photo book's the wrong word. It's like an art photography book. And they just gave this photographer 3 cars, like a red one, a white one, and a blue one, and just sent him on his way in California. And it's all California, like super iconic, like San Francisco and the canyons and the mountains and you know, the bay. I'm blanking on what it's called. The famous shoreline, you know, the Pacific Coast Highway.
PCH. Yeah.
Yeah. Big Sur. That's it. So it's all that, like it feels like a car of California. You know, there's a beautiful blonde driving the car. It's yeah, no, it was a car made for California. Honestly, in Japan, when you'd see them, they were big. Like, it's a big car for Japan.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Japan, like the key cars and all, like the majority of things you see on the road have a smaller footprint than the Miata.
That's so funny because whenever you see, especially like an NA Miata, it's just so tiny here in the States.
Yeah.
It's just so tiny.
Yeah.
There's not much smaller than a Miata
Yeah,
on the
it's
road.
nutty. It's nutty. Yeah. So I think it'll come here. I think in a year when they go on sale, I'm sure dealerships will try to mark it up, but not in, you know, the chronic way we were seeing. I mean, right now, I think we're definitely seeing a softening of the market. And by the time it comes to the market, I think the market will be hot as long as, one, we don't go into a recession, and it doesn't look like we are, right? Everyone seems to be pretty happy with how things have turned out over the last year.
Things have turned around a bit.
Yeah. And then 2, is as long, you know, basically the end is coming. We all know the end of manuals is coming. The end of internal combustion engines, or at least as we know it, is coming. And I think for a lot of people, that means the end of fun cars. And that is producing a perceived scarcity, whether real or not. And I think that's just going to keep the market hot. As long as the money is there, people want it. So
I definitely could see this could be a car for like everybody, right? I am Jay Leno. I want to have like this special Miata. You know, I want this in my collection. Like, this could be a collector's car.
yeah.
And it could also be just, I'm a Miata enthusiast, I want one. Or I just want a fun car.
It's going to be,
I want it. Like, it could be, it has universal appeal is basically
just
what I'm trying
like
to say.
the GR Corolla. Like, all the YouTubers who just play with supercars all day, they all were like, I gotta get a GR Corolla, and they all gush over them, love them, and treat them the same way that they treat their supercars. I think this Miata could be the same way. And honestly, Spirit Racing is sweet. Like, that is such a cool name.
It is a
it's
cool thing.
so Japanese.
It is cool.
It's so like evocative, and like it feels so Mazda. Like, Mazda's always talking about the heart and soul of the car. They've got Soul Red. It's all about this sort of like ethereal, emotional thing. And I think Spirit Racing is like the perfect name. They really nailed it, I think.
That's cool. I'd agree with you for sure.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about the Mazda 3.
It's still front wheel drive, right? They didn't.
I think I'm pretty sure they do say it's front wheel drive because, I mean, which makes
I would imagine so.
a lot of sense. Let's see. Reading through it real quick, blah, 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 blah. Well, okay, one thing is the all-wheel drive is not available with the manual at the moment, so I think that might be a hurdle impossible to overcome. Not that I don't even care that much about the all-wheel drive aspect, just because like doing a good all-wheel drive system is so expensive. But I think the one thing it's missing for me, like they say, you know, they got the 2.5 turbo, they could turn up the boost, it could, you know, already makes 250 with 300 foot-pound of torque, I think, so maybe 300s, you know, doesn't seem that far off. But all that said, it needs to be wide body. Like I want it to look like the GR Corolla with like
OEM wide body.
swollen fenders and like muscular, you know. And that is not the concept. Is not that the concept's like a new front bumper with like a lower splitter and side skirts and a little wing on the back, which is cool. I like it, but
it's a little more in line with like your Veloster, right?
I feel like the Veloster looks more aggressive.
I'd agree with that, though. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
You know, but I mean, it's yet to be seen, right? I mean, Mazda's known for making a great driving dynamic car, so maybe it will come out and it'll be awesome and have incredible dynamics and lots of power, and you'll get that amazing interior quality. Like I test drove the Mazda 3 like 2 years ago, and I was like a top spec with the good stereo, and it blew me away. It was like, this is a premium car. It felt great inside. Stereo sounded great. Like, definitely a premium product. Nice place to be.
That's cool. Well, I'm excited. Hopefully we get more news here in America about it as time goes by. And was there a note in there about when their release date or go-to-market date would be for the car? I don't think there was. I was trying to look through that. I didn't see anything on that. But regardless, yeah, I think overall this is something to look forward to, and I would be very hard-pressed to honestly sell my car. But, I mean, if we're talking about what we're talking about here, it would be something that I could look forward to trying to buy in the future, maybe like secondhand or something like that.
You have to buy a new one. Support the industry like I did.
I want to. But I need to replace my Focus first, and I can't really justify replacing my Focus with another Miata.
What are you talking about? You work from home.
I work from home. I don't leave anywhere. I don't. What do we need that for? What do I need that for? Just have two Miatas.
Exactly.
Two hatchbacks. Let's just grow the car family. Right?
Come to Florida with me. You don't like. It's always sunny. It's always Miata weather.
Buy a piece of property, put up a giant pole barn, and just collect cars.
Heck yeah.
That's awesome. Cool. Anything else on your end? I'm excited for this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I am. I am stoked. I am hungry for a U.S. press release. Just any more information. Just give us more information, Mazda. And I mean, this is for another episode, but there's also the RX-7 talk, RX-8 replacement. So Mazda's got, I think, some exciting stuff in the works, and they've really been re-upping their racing presence. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll definitely save that. I'm curious to talk about that more with you. I imagine 3 years from now, Mazda has a lineup similar to Toyota does today, to what Toyota does today.
Yeah. That's a dream. That's a dream, right?
That would be really cool. But they have basically three sports cars: the GR Corolla, the GT86, and the Supra. It'd be really cool if Mazda had something similar.
Right. It would be just like the good old days, right? We'll have we already have the Miata. We'll have the Mazda 3 Spirit Racing and the RX-7 to compete with the Supra. That would be a enthusiast dream.
That would be nuts. That'd be really cool. Cool. Well, on that note, thanks for listening to another edition of the Early Apex, and we're back on the wagon here. Now that you've made your move and gotten settled somewhat,
we're on the wagon.
The ball's back in motion. We're getting back into the rhythm of
what's
things.
What's going on? We're rolling the ball down the hill.
I don't know what analogy I'm.
The hill, like
got the momentum of the ball. It's rolling. I don't know. I don't know. We're trying to get back to the
Who's
rhythm
the guy who pushes the ball up the mountain forever?
Oh.
Shit.
Was that Greek mythology?
Yeah. Damn.
It wasn't Atlas. That was Atlas. Atlas is holding the globe on his back.
Right. All I can think about is Oedipus.
Syphilis? Oh my gosh.
Syphilis.
Blah.
Syphilis.
I don't know. Something like that. Punished for him trickery of others, including cheating death twice. The gods forced him to roll an immense boulder uphill.
Sounds like me in the Miata after Tail of the Dragon.
Only for it to roll back down.
What a great ending. This is a great way to end.
Yeah, Greek mythology. Yeah. There you go.
Well, on that note.
Thanks for sticking it out with us.
Jenks Nakamoto give me a Diet Coke.
Yeah, when I come visit, I'll bring one.
Till next time, guys.
Thanks a lot.